To Educator, and for this lesson we're going to learn about how to pigeonhole a book. This lesson assumes that you kind of already understand how to be a demanding reader and you're getting the idea of how to judge a book by its cover. This part is going to go over that in a little bit more detail. So, the overview will be this. We got to understand what kind of book it is. We have to understand more than is this a nonfiction or fiction book. Then we're going to learn what theoretical means and what practical means. And finally, we're going to go over the various kinds of books thought about and considered. Here is our first example, the Deathly Hallows Lectures. I've pigeonholed this book for you, and I'm going to pigeonhole it as a nonfiction book, a theoretical book, a book about literature, and it is a collection of lectures. And what's the topic all about? Our friend Harry Potter. Here's a much more complicated book. Well, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions by Thomas Kuhn. This is definitely nonfiction. And it's not about science, believe it or not. It's about the philosophy of science. Definitely a theoretical book. This book is organized in a long series of arguments and it has one overarching conclusion. And here's a third example. This is also nonfiction and it's entitled How to Win Friends and Influence People. This one is a practical book. And what's it all about? It's about your charisma and your social skills. This book is full of anecdotes, it has examples, and it encourages habits. And it has several skills working together in order to win friends and influence people. So, what do I mean when I'm talking about pigeonholing a book? I'm just doing that. Kind of picking out what the book's basically about, how it's organized, and whether or not it's theoretical or practical, which I'll be going over as a definition in a bit. Now, why do we pigeonhole though? Well, we got a couple reasons. Number one, we have to understand how to judge a book. I want you to imagine that you're reading through Amazon.com reviews and you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a practical book that is set up like this. Dale Carnegie sets out to explain universal laws in which people develop friendships. Sadly, he clearly lacks scientific rigor. Each chapter concludes with an alleged scientific law, yet there is no mention of controlled experiments, peer-reviewed journal articles, or even so much as a trend. Dale Carnegie needs to go back to graduate school. Now, think back to How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is a practical book. This is a book that teaches you how to do something. So, is this book concerned about universal laws? No, it's not. So, this person has mispigeonholed the book, and he doesn't understand what it's all about, and so he can't judge it very well. Let's continue on. So, Thomas Kuhn, in telling the history of science, concentrates too much on the philosophical implications of ideas. A dry, objective telling of history must concentrate on personalities and their contributions. Yet Kuhn selectively chooses only a few examples and then proceeds to talk about abstract theories rather than concrete facts. This book is not recommended for any serious scholar of the history of science. Now, think back a couple slides. Was Thomas Kuhn's book about the history of science? No, it was about the philosophy of science. So again, if you mispigeonhole a book, you might write a silly Amazon.com review like this where you completely misunderstand it. Now, it is a theoretical book, a book that's all about ideas and facts and laws and things that you can't necessarily turn into action very easily. But it's not a history of science book.